Jay the comedian is going to tell you his story about the Jehovah's Witnesses and his experience leaving the cult. Families, all that crazy stuff. I hope you stay tuned. Consider becoming a patron of MythVision Podcast to help me grow in my endeavors and grow this channel. Also, you could do a one-time donation if you're interested by PayPal or Cashapp down in the description. Love you guys. We are MythVision. Welcome back to MythVision Podcast. Your host, Derek Lambert. Guys, I tell you all the time of my past coming out of Christian denominations and various cults and things like that. I mean, I was in some, I guess you could say, some deep stuff, man. I was in there speaking in tongues, thinking I was prophesying, potentially able to heal people, all of these things, as well as going to a house church that claim to have these special abilities and stuff. But that's not what we're here for today. The reason why we're here is actually to talk to a man named Jay. Jay the comedian is what he goes by, and he's an ex Jehovah's Witness who is also in a cult. So that's you've right. Been in, yeah. So I guess, Jay, without starting us off with a joke, because I know you could, you could, let's get into some serious stuff and then get into what you found to be therapeutic and how you found yourself, how you found who you really were. Were you born into the Jehovah's Witnesses? What happened?
Yeah. So I was born into the organization, and it was before the internet, stuff like that, and the ability to research and do cool stuff like that. So my entire life, ever since I was born, all the way up until I was 28, I was a Jehovah's Witness. The problem was that I wasn't very good at it. And when you're a Jehovah's Witness, right? And when you're inside, everybody has to put on this kind of facade. Like they have to, I'm happy all the time. I feel good. Everything's great. Anything that they put out, they love. Like, oh, we got this new book coming out. What do you think about it? Everybody starts clapping. And I would always just sit there like, wow, everything sucks. All of this sucks. Why am I the only one who thinks this sucks? You know what I mean?
Wow.
So I spent all my life feeling like it was something wrong with me. You know what I mean? Because I didn't feel that happiness. I didn't feel that that image that they were putting out that everybody else would talk about and how they felt. You know what I mean? So imagine feeling that way for 28 years.
Wow.
And when you leave, when you finally do like wake up and you start to get out of it, you start to like, one of the things I found necessary, like once you leave a high control group like that, is to find out exactly what they did to you. You need to find out how they were able to do the things that they do and how they're successful at continuing to do it. Because once you can nail down how they did it, you can figure out what's wrong and then you can fix it. You know what I mean? So wow. It was just one of those things. And after spending so much time there and after finally being able to get away and pretty much like I got my little things that I'm still working on. Like I'm probably going to never completely get over it. It was so damaging, but to be able to get out and be able to, have a family and raise a family without having to be inside the organization, that's a major W. A major W, man.
Wow. Not major JW, just a major W. Okay.
Yeah, I got the dub on that one, not the J dub, just the regular dub.
Look, I got to ask, I mean, obviously you were born into this, and that leads me to the next question. What about your family? I mean, what happened to your mom? What happened to your dad? Like,
so my father, he passed away 2010. I want to say 2009, 2010, he passed away. My mother, she's still deeply into it. I have 11 brothers and sisters, half in, half out. You know what I mean?
Oh my goodness.
But the ones who are in, they accept me. They know because for one, with the weird Jehovah Witness rules, right? As long as you weren't this fellowship, they could find a way to, be okay with you, But if you were this fellowship, then it's like, no, we can't have nothing to do with you. It's the dumbest thing because I know people who are actively doing terrible and bad things, but because they're not this fellowship, all right, it's all good, you know.
Oh man.
But they will shut and turn away their own kid and accept this other person just because they're not disfellowship. But their kid, because their kid is disfellowship, they can't have nothing to do with them. So it's my family has been able to accept me, and like I'm not getting shunned actively by anybody right now. And they just know not to like bring it up with me because I will ask questions. I try not to like push nothing down their throat or try to get them to turn around or anything like that. I will have a conversation with them though if they try to ask me questions, and those conversations usually don't go so well. So
I have the same, man. I got to say that I relate to what you're saying. I always felt like I didn't belong to any particular, like I couldn't fit quite in many places that I went to my whole life. And it led me into addiction. It led me into a lot of tough stuff in my life that I had to go through to find myself, to find out who I was. And that's a human being. I'm not a robot. You can't, make me be something. I won't be happy if I can't just be who I am and enjoy who I am. So I got to ask you, in your experience in the organization, did you pioneer? One question. And also, what are some of the teachings that you would say, what you had to learn to unlearn as you left?
Well, pioneer, absolutely not. I hated field service. From the moment we started doing it, I'm talking about I fake rang people doorbells.
You were lying.
I was like, no, I do not like being a Jehovah Witness. I did not like it. I did like field service. It was always Saturday mornings when the best cartoons were on that I had to go. And I remember that. And then when I got older in life, it was Saturday mornings. And Friday nights is when we could finally kind of let out and have fun. And nobody wants to wake up early on Saturday. You want to kind of sleep in,
Yeah.
So me and field service did not get along. I did it because my parents kind of forced me to whereas it's like, if you want to have fun later, you need to do this.
Right.
So I had to do it as much as possible. But I absolutely pioneer, like anything that was above like basic Jehovah's Witness needs. I wasn't trying to go above and beyond. So
dang,
that was something like that. But as far as their teachings, I just remember nothing making sense. Like I've always been the type of person to whereas things have to make sense to me for me to like follow along. I remember always looking at math and whatnot and being like, man, I never learned this. I never understand that. And it wasn't until I learned how to work the problem out that I could accept it. Like,
wow.
But before then I was just like, this is dumb. What? That ain't even a number. That's a letter. Like, how could that be a math problem? But then I learned how to do it and then learned how to work. And then I accepted it. With the Jehovah's Witnesses, it was so many things that I just could not accept. Like the fact that if somebody no longer wanted to be a Jehovah's Witness, they couldn't just do that. They'd lose their entire family. They'd lose everybody. So you couldn't just leave. So I'm just like, how does that doesn't make sense? Because if somebody left and they have a one-on-one relationship with God, what does other people got to do with a one-on-one relationship with God?
Right.
Like that makes no sense to me. And then when they would say stuff like the universe, it had to be created because if you put a watch in a box and you shake a box, no matter how long you shake the box, the watch never come out fully assembled. You know what I mean? But I'm like, but the watch ain't made of biological material.
That's a whole nother discussion. Yeah, that's
it is. But it's little things like that didn't make sense to me. The funny thing, evolution didn't make sense to me for a long time.
Bro, I love that you're bringing this up, by the way. I didn't tell him to do it, so don't shoot the messenger, baby. Okay. Go ahead, Jay.
But evolution, for the longest time, I thought in my head was like, there's no way to recreate 100 years. Like when it comes to science, most things in science are done because you can replicate it,
Right.
Like the reason that this science exists and the reason that you can stand on top of the evidence is because the evidence can be replicated, right? We can't replicate 100 million years or whatever it is that evolution would take to make something happen. So I was in the point of, all right, you can't really convince me of evolution. But then I learned about the 3 different sciences that they use to prove evolution. And it made sense. I'm still like, all right, I'm not completely like, okay, that's what happened, but I could see why they would believe that, you know?
Yeah, I think it's the most plausible explanation for what we have. I mean, don't get me wrong. I understand there might be like hesitations to buy everything. Like I watched a documentary last night about the oldest supposed known species of I can't remember, when you stand on 2 feet, there's a technical scientific term for a species that stands on only 2 feet and not 4. And, gorillas, monkeys, chimpanzees, they all they're on their feet and arms. Their
it's
arms
not Homo
and legs.
sapien, is it?
No, it's bipod. I can't even think of the term. But anyway,
I got you.
I don't know. The evidence for that species is pretty scant. And unless I see the evidence, like they play it out and they show me all the ins and outs, there might be a good reason they're jumping to that conclusion.
Right.
My point is, I feel what you're saying. Like, there were too many unanswered questions. There's too much stuff that didn't make sense. And then also, you knew, you were raised in it. You knew from the personalities and, hey, all right, church is over, getting to know how these people are, you know what not to say and what to say around these people. Yeah. There are no-nos and stuff. And that's how I was in the cults I was involved in. You knew not to pressure too hard or to really test and be doubtful. They would teach you not to do those things. Those are actually bad things. Yeah. Whereas today, isn't it healthy to like not know now, to have questions and to be doubtful, and it's healthy.
And the funny part about it is that if you believe in God, if you're a God worshiper, right? It's so anti-God to not question things. It is so anti-spirituality to not question things. Like, because as human beings, we have an innate ability to just seek knowledge and be happy once we learn something. Once we figure out something. Once you, like, if you took a puzzle, 1,000-piece puzzle, and you put it all together, how do you feel once it's all done? You feel proud. You feel like you accomplished something, right? Humans have that inside of them. That's why we're always trying to get better. That's why we're always pushing the human race forward in technology, science, medicine. All these things and all these accomplishments, we're always striving to keep moving forward. You don't get that by not asking questions. If things don't make sense, if you sit there and like, well, you gotta just let go and let God, that's not what if you believe in God and you believe we weren't designed to do that. We're designed to ask questions and find out answers. And I remember when I first started asking questions in the Jehovah Witness organization. Are you familiar with what an apostate is?
Yes.
Okay, so anybody who speaks negatively of the organization is considered an apostate. Now, I was not at the time listening to anything that was quote unquote apostate material. I was just hearing certain things because I remember like learning that most of the things that took place in the Bible took place in Africa or in the African continent or whatever. So I was like, where are all the black people? Like, there's not a single Bible character that's black, not one. And why are they names like Paul and Adam and like those are not African? There's not a Muhammad or Ugabe or nothing, huh? Just American names, huh? But I had this entire back and forth where it didn't make sense to me, and I would ask them in the Bible, it say Jesus had skin of bronze and hair of wool. Sounds like a brother.
Yeah, you're talking about Revelation and stuff.
Yeah, when they described him. So I'm just like, that sounds like a brother. So I was asking the elders, and they're like, well, have you been looking at apostate material? I'm like, no, I'm just asking questions. Let's answer the question. And I never got my question answered. I was told more to just, is it important? That's not really what, this is about. I'm like, I guess because y'all put so much emphasis on details and being so detailed, even to the point to whereas you want people to give up their life refusing blood transfusions because you're so detail oriented. Well, why aren't we looking at this detail, this little particular detail right here? Because it's kind of important to me. I would like to see somebody in the Bible that's black, that would be kind of cool. But those are the questions I asked, and I kept being questioned if I was reading apostate material or looking at apostate material. And that kind of made me look at it, because I'm like, if they're if they're out there asking good questions and giving good answers, I'm missing out.
That is interesting, because I've actually asked, and this kind of leads into something. I don't want to get caught up in it too long, but I did ask Lloyd Evans, and I believe I asked Fifth, if in his experience, it seemed there was some racism involved in the organization. And he said, they both said they've done a good job of trying to make the organization a multicultural type thing where everyone is somewhat equal, but it wasn't always that way. And then also when you go to the higher ranks, they finally have a brother who's in the actual top ranks. Yeah. Whereas, and I mean, that's good. Don't get me wrong. Anything in the right direction can be good, but is it really good? Because is that just an influence to draw in more African Americans or people who are of dark color into this organization, which is going to get them trapped? So I don't know the motives, but nonetheless, do you feel there was some racist things, or would it be more of an individual thing from your experience?
I'm gonna because I've thought a lot about this. In an effort to be fair, which they say apostles can't be fair. in an effort to be fair.
Jay with a grain of salt. No, I'm just kidding.
Right. But let's be fair. They had some stuff that they put out way back when the majority of America felt that way. Where they said that black people, they felt like were made to be servants. Now, they said this a long time ago, and they felt like black people were the most happy when they were servants. Like they were created and they're happy to be servants, right? Now, this was an old book. Somewhere, I want to say 1930, something like that, right? At the time, that's what people thought. Wow. Now, it's bad, but at the same time, I understand why they would say that.
Yeah, all of society there was like a mainstream society thing.
Exactly. It just points out that they're not God, they're not led by God, obviously. They're just led by whatever's going on at the times. And going forward, I would like to say that they're doing this because they actually don't have any color barriers, and they just want to, they're progressive, right?
Right.
But I don't think that's what it is. If I'm being completely honest, with what they sell hope, and they sell better things to come. It's hard to sell hope and better things to come to people who are doing okay in life. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like
to go to a rich person and be like, "Hey, things will get better, man." He on his jet ski, like they're going pretty good right now. But when you go to some of the lower economies in America, or some of the neighborhoods where it's a lot of crime and poverty and things like that, the Jehovah Witness message is gold in those areas.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So the black and brown community has historically been left out when it comes to financial advancements and, things like that. So they if they want to still have a future and still progress, they have no choice but to work with people like us. You know what I mean? Because a large amount of black people are still struggling, and they get that little hope from the Jehovah Witnesses, the hope of seeing loved ones again, the hope of, being a spiritual person and having God look after them. That sells good to people who are struggling, who are going through a hard time in life. So I would like to say, yeah, they just like black people, but black people is actually
a target.
It's a good target for them,
Right.
Because I'll tell you this, I lived in every part of Chicago. When I lived in a really, really good part of Chicago, I saw almost all white people. I barely saw any Jehovah Witnesses. But when I lived in the worst part of Chicago, where I grew up at, I saw Jehovah Witnesses every single weekend. Every single weekend. They were on it. So, I mean, which I would like to say.
It's kind of weird you say that, man, because the house I had about a mile away, years ago, I lived in it for about 10 years. I always had a group of Jehovah's Witnesses come up almost every Saturday. I was always polite to them, but I know they're just probably there. I throw them a little bit of change, whatever for the little magazine, and then they'd be on their way. I didn't really care to sit and talk with them. Sometimes I would, sometimes I wouldn't. But this house where I'm at now, which is my parents' house, which is in a better upscale type of neighborhood. I never see Jehovah's Witnesses come into this neighborhood. I think they're just used to the people saying, get out of my way, like you're talking about. Another thing about the whole organization thing, and maybe you could just, comment on this if you would. You mentioned, how can this be of God when they went with the flow of society, the same way the Bible does this, in my opinion. I'm not trying to knock people, but nonetheless, I do deep research into the biblical account here. And in the Hebrew Bible, as well as the New Testament, it is never condemned. Slavery is condoned. It's not necessarily, it's not something that's like, yes, everyone go get a slave. No, but it's also not like, slavery is bad and you should not own another human being. No, slaves, be good to your masters, and masters, be good to your slaves. Jesus said these things. Paul says these things. It's like, what the heck, man? You didn't know that was a bad thing? You didn't know to say, do not own another human being? It's morally wrong to own people? No, when they said slavery, they didn't mean what you think slavery means. That's the cop out. You know what I'm saying? So, anyway, did you want to comment on that statement or?
No, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. Like if anything, at this point now, they are constantly trying to make the Bible fit in. You know what I mean? Like the Bible hasn't changed. The stuff in the Bible hasn't changed, but people understanding of the Bible constantly changes, especially depending on where you stand morally. You know what I mean? Like, because even right now, like it's no black and white about it. Homosexuality in the Bible is bad. Like it's bad. But I've seen people say, well, when in the actual meaning, they didn't mean homosexuality. They meant like pedophiles. And I'm just like, why am I just hearing this in 2021? Like this should have been put out there, but it just says like the whole slavery thing. Now it was just that's how they like bartered back then. They didn't really have money, so you do slaves. And I'm like, but they said you could beat a man as long as he don't die within 2 days. They said slaves like respect your master the same way you respect God or something like that. And they said like even whether he's good or whether he's cruel, you still are supposed to be in his service. You know what I mean? Right. Like the Bible says crazy stuff like this. Happy is the man who bashes a baby against a rock.
I think that was in a particular, even if it was enemies of Israel at the time, man, geez, come on. You know what I mean? Like even today we have laws, I think, that are better than the ones you find in this book. And some of those, for example, when my dad being a retired Green Beret in the Special Forces, he was in the combat zones down in Afghanistan, Iraq, the whole nine. Man, when they see children, they don't aim at the kids because they know that those kids might be children of the enemy. They don't try to, I'm not going to say there aren't soldiers out there that have went off the deep end, but it is never instructed and condoned. In fact, you'll come back to the United States and stand trial for that kind of stuff during war. Even in war, we have better rules. So I just figured I'd say that. Now, I want to move forward, if that's okay. I want to ask you something interesting I think would be important, because you didn't quite agree. You always had questions. You didn't quite just drink the Kool-Aid and accept everything that they were saying. And I kind of did in my own experience, but was church life, when you went to the hall and you came to Kingdom Hall and you come back home, was church life different than your home life? When you came home, was mama a different person? Was daddy a different person? Was it like, man, this is real life? And then we go back, hey, what's up, Uncle Bob? Everything's good? Yeah, we're doing good. And then really, you know what I'm saying? Like they're faking it to make it sometimes to kind of look good in church. And did that kind of like, did you learn from that? Is that stuff, you know what I'm saying? You get what I'm talking about?
I feel you. Well, let me qualify it a little bit.
Okay.
I did believe a lot of it. I believe that Jehovah was God. I believe that the governing body was actually looking out for us. I felt like I was just a bad person. Like I felt like it was something wrong with me. You know what I mean? I believed the stuff that didn't make sense to me. I highly questioned and I didn't accept those things. But I believed in Jehovah. I believed in the governing body and stuff like that. I believe that. Now, as far as like how I was at the hall and how I was at home. It was something called a double life. And I had my own little double life squad. People that were like me who behaved one way at the hall and behaved differently with like was free. That's what we did, you know, and we all kind of ran together and whatnot. Now my parents, it was crazy. Like they'd be at home, they'd be arguing, getting into it. But as soon as they get to the Kingdom Hall, oh hey brother, hey sister, how y'all doing? Everything good, right? I remember like I could almost get away with murder at the Kingdom Hall, but I knew at home I'd have to pay for it. You know what I mean? So it was that, but I had to learn because I thought like it was only my family that was doing that fake stuff. But after like hanging out with other people and spending the night at certain people's house, I would see that's just what it was. Everybody put up their fake personality at the Kingdom Hall, and when they got home, they were their genuine crazy self. And I've heard some crazy stories, but it's not just crazy stories, like some stuff that's happened even in my family. Like my father wasn't the greatest person in the world, you know what I mean? And it was some things that my family struggled with and went through, bad decisions that was made and just bad things that people would do to each other. And it left a bad taste in my mouth. But at the same time, whenever somebody would do something bad inside the Jehovah's Witness organization, they would quickly just be like, oh, we're sinful. You know, we're imperfect humans. You know what I mean? And that was their cop out every single time. But yeah, everybody had that double personality, man.
No, I just ask because I think a lot of times that can help us see reality, you know, and I bet you almost everybody who goes to that church has the same thing, and they come to the organization and yeah, well, I'm better than you in a way, or you know what I mean? Like I haven't done anything wrong.
Yeah.
But you know, I had that struggle internally, like you said. I on the next level believed, and sometimes when I would do really good in life, I was like, okay, this is good. I am his child. I have his spirit, blah, blah, blah. But then when I would find myself veering off naturally in life, making mistakes, whether it be chasing girls, drinking too much alcohol, bonfires, partying with the boys, dabbling with things I shouldn't be dabbling with, you know, and on. And, you know, I come back and get straight and narrow, boom, come back straight and narrow. I would question, you know, like, hold on, like, am I really yours? You're supposed to be guiding me with your spirit. And for whatever reason, I just keep not being able to line my life up with this perfect, I'm going to church every Sunday type of lifestyle. I just couldn't fit my life to line up with that. And it sounds to me, you did have a similar somewhat experience, if I'm not mistaken.
Absolutely. That's exactly the way it was. But then something I learned, like I said earlier, you need to learn how they attack you. Because one thing that I learned, in order for the Jehovah's Witnesses to be successful in their attack, they have to keep you in a certain state of you haven't done enough, or you can never do enough, you know? Like there is no accomplishing anything inside their organization, because even when you think you've accomplished something, there's more you can do. There's more you can, you know what I mean? And with that type of process, mentally, you always feel like you're working and you're busy. And if you always are working and you're always busy, what you never do really is have free time to actually sit down and diagnose what's going on around you. Like figure out, am I really happy? Am I really doing something that's beneficial to myself and my children and my future and stuff like that? Like if you're not actually taking the time to realize what's going on around you, it plays right into their hands, because you're going to end up just doing the same thing you always do. And this is the thing when it comes to the Jehovah's Witnesses. When you go to the Kingdom Hall and stuff like that, you're not really learning nothing new. If you've been in there a while, after about a decade or something like that, you don't learn anything new anymore. It's just a repeat over and over again. And that's done because that's how you brainwash somebody. You get them to accept something, and then you repeat it to them over and over and over again. After a certain point, when somebody says something, you're like, man, I've been hearing this all my life. You're definitely wrong. I've heard this 1,000 times in my life. There's no way you could be right, you know? And that's how the brainwashing works. So just after being in so long and just learning how they attack you and learning that, you know, they do this to make sure you don't build up a future. It's all done so you can't leave. You know, it's all done to
Yeah.
keep you in and hopefully get your children and get your children's children. And that's what it's all about.
How's your relationship with your mom?
I just called it a day. We have a relationship to whereas I do not talk to her about spiritual things.
But you do connect with your mom, like no matter what, your mom still loves you, like that kind of. Not mama's gonna love you no matter what. I'm a mama's boy, right? Like I am a mama's boy. But your mom and you, no matter what, it's there, right?
Even if I got this fellowship, she would cry, she would be hurt, and she wouldn't reach out to me, she wouldn't touch me. You know what I'm saying? Like she wouldn't have anything to do with me. I know that. But really? And it would hurt her. Yeah, she would be hurt by that. She would be really, really hurt by that. But I also know that the reason she would do it is because she thinks she's doing the right thing. You know, that's the entire thing behind the Jehovah Witness organization. It's about controlling people and getting them to believe that even though it sounds insane and it makes no sense at all, that they're doing the right thing. So I wouldn't even be mad at her if that ever happened or whatever. I would understand why she's doing it. It would just suck. But they believe that they're doing the right thing. So it's not really even about like them not loving their kids, you know what I mean? Yeah. Or anything like this. It's not that at all. It's about them being completely fooled. You know, they drunk the Kool-Aid. They're 100% into this organization, and the organization is not doing anything beneficial to them. You know, it's just a bunch of tactics to keep people in line and keep people in check. So, but my relationship with her right now is very good. We do not talk about spiritual stuff. Every now and then she'll try to ask me a question or two, but after I give her a couple of explanations, she's like, all right, that's enough.
Yeah, my mom's the same way. Oh my gosh, bro, we got so much in common. How long ago was it that you left the organization?
I left when I was 28 years old. I'm 38 now, so 10 years.
Okay. Awesome. Okay. Well, that's awesome. So what's life like now, man, compared to what it was then?
Life is hard. But it's a different kind of hard, you know. It's like anytime you're alive, period, you're in a competition with everybody else. You know what I mean? Like if you want to be successful, you want to leave something great for your kids, and you want to leave a certain like legacy or whatever, it takes energy. It takes like, you know, energy. It takes a certain level of discipline and things like that to accomplish. And my problem is like all those things that you learn when you're little, I didn't learn those things, you know? Wow. So it's a life to whereas I have to kind of learn stuff that I should have mastered when I was a teenager. But at the same time, I have the freedom of knowing that I'm free, you know? I have the freedom of enjoying Christmas and birthdays. Like everything is just that much more sweeter because I couldn't do it before. And even though when I first left, I still was kind of like, kind of felt bad about it because I went so long without doing it. Now that I'm able to completely just immerse myself in it, oh, it feels so good, man. It feels real good. So life, it's a good, I will describe it as a good struggle. It's one of those struggles to whereas you actually get rewarded for it now. Remember earlier I was saying that you could never do enough as a Jehovah Witness. You can never accomplish anything. Now, when you accomplish something, you get rewarded. Now they give you a degree. Now you get the keys to a new house. Now you become a doctor. Now you become a lawyer. You know what I mean? Like it actually pays off now, the struggle. You know what I mean?
I could see a governing body member stumble across this video, right? And trying to interpret what you just said and say something like this. Oh, you received your reward. Yeah, this reward now. But the reward, you know, like you see what I'm talking about? They're going to turn it around and talk about but they may not receive the reward right now as Jehovah's Witnesses, but they will receive that reward, which you won't receive, which is that eternal life. You see what I'm trying to get at? But it's all this wishful thinking, and it keeps you stuck in this slave mentality in your head. But I have to crack it. We got to crack the joke here because you go by Jay the comedian, and you know, looking back, and you can see a bunch of Jehovah's Witnesses. It's sad, man. Some of the stuff you can see, you can literally start crying or get emotional and depressed over how sad it is. And you know, they say a good laugh can take it a long way. You know, You're a comedian now. You do funny stuff. Like, tell me more about who you are, what you do, what you enjoy doing, and how does that help with where you've been at? You know what I mean?
Well, something I've learned a while ago is no matter what you've been through in life, you can think of the biggest, like most horrible thing you've ever been through. At the point where you're able to laugh at it, when you're finally able to laugh at something, you're over it. That's when you know you're over it, you know? And there's some stuff out there that's like, you may never find it funny, but one day you're going to be like, wow, I can't believe that happened to me, you know? That's when you're over it. And that's how I always looked at like comedy, because I remember for a long time, especially when I first left, I was so angry. I was so angry all the time. You know what I mean? And when I talk to people now, because I've been fortunate enough to help a lot of people wake up from the organization. And one of the things that people tell me was that when somebody leaves the organization, they're told like, oh, apostates, they're evil and they're angry all the time and they're mad. You know what I mean? That's not me though, because I'm actually happy. You know what I mean? Like, to actually see somebody happy, actually see somebody enjoying life and bringing a comical view to something that's so crazy, it helps more people that way. And it makes it easier to hear the message that I'm putting out to people who may not understand it, So I could reach more people through my comedy, and the people who have been through something traumatic, it breaks that shell a little bit. It helps them get that much closer to overcoming it. You know what I mean? Like, if I can get one giggle up out of them, that's better than, because I'm sure there's going to be a lot of crying involved whenever you leave a high control group. You know what I mean? Yeah. So if I could get them to laugh or something like that, that's a big accomplishment to me. And I feel like I've helped them a lot if I could just get that up out of them. But as far as comedy is just something that I've always, it's funny. I used to get in trouble at the Kingdom Hall because I always had like an inappropriate, like
Dave Chappelle.
Yeah, exactly. Like a real inappropriate sense of humor. So if somebody would say, how they had those jokes to where they'd be like, that's what she said or something like that.
Yeah.
The thing is that people around me know I had the sense of humor and I couldn't really contain it. So I remember one day, this is a true story, by the way. This sister, and it's the thing, sisters can't really preach to the congregation. So when they have their little parts, they can only talk to each other in the congregation listen. And the sister was on the stage and she was like, yeah, the other day I was driving and, my neck hurts now because the car in front of me stopped. So I had to stop. And then this big hard truck just hit me from the back, and they're just like, oh man. And I've never been hit from the back like that. And I just said, that's all I did. I was like, and then several people around me, they kind of looked at me and they was just like holding back their laughter because they knew exactly what it was so funny to me. And that was my first reaction. So I would get in trouble for not being able to contain my very immature sense of humor. And it hasn't gotten any better since I grew up.
It's all right. No, that's funny, dude. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And I was telling another story about this old lady at my Kingdom Hall. She was elderly. So she would just like fall asleep in the hall and she would be completely asleep. I'm talking about snoring, head back, mouth open. And I couldn't take it. It was too funny. So I used to get in trouble for laughing at her. And yeah, man.
You know what? So tell us, where do you do your comedy? Plug yourself. Where do you do this stuff at? I want everybody who's ex Jehovah's Witness that's watching this right now. You guys are still a family. I really see it. Every ex Jehovah's Witness that watches this material and all the material out there, from all of the top dogs to the small, you guys stick together still. And so I love that about you guys. Y'all show that bond. You've been through the same trauma and you've came out alive. And so, Jay, where can they find you? Where can they come and support you in some way?
Well, you could check out my YouTube channel, which is Jay the Comedian, youtube.com/Jay the Comedian. If you put it in, just put in XJW, Jay the Comedian, any of my videos will come up. On Instagram, it's Jay the Comedian 1. I have another YouTube channel that's less XJW stuff and more just me, and it's called Jay's Comedy Corner. So I'm on there. When I do perform, because of COVID-19, I haven't,
I get it.
a group of XJWs. We have like a little Sunday show that we do. We did it once, and we're still trying to like perfect it. But we're gonna do more Sunday comedy shows. Those you got to just kind of follow me on my other things to find out about, because we got bombed last time. People got into the Zoom and they were just crazy. They were going crazy. So we're gonna do little comedy shows like that. And when everything comes back, when things open back up, in Chicago, that's where I perform my comedies and stuff like that. And it's not really a single one place that I go to. I just hit up different open mics and stuff like that. So I am actually right now working on my 1 hour comedy special. So once I get that up and running, like I say, if people follow me on my other social media, they'll be able to check that out. So yeah, man, people, if you want to check me out, if you find me on YouTube, you find everything, because all my stuff is on there. So it's Jay the Comedian on YouTube. You'll find me on there.
Well, everything's down in the description, you guys. You can hit those links. Make sure you go check them out. I just wanted you to, plug, let them know where you're at and what you're doing and how they can come and support you and get a laugh. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure they could use one. We all can use one. If you're talking to someone right now, let's just say there's a person sitting on the fence. They're scared, because it is scary. Let's be honest. It's very, very scary. Not only that there's an organization and you're going to let people down, you feel like you're letting God down. You feel like you're letting the most important thing that you were raised to think is most important. You're about to let that down. What words of encouragement, or what could you say, Jay, to that person that's sitting on the fence and they're kind of wondering if there is life on the outside and there is a sunny day, a shining light, if there's happiness there? What would you say to them?
Well, if they're on the fence, that means that at some point something doesn't feel right to them, something doesn't seem right to them. So I would ask them to look at things from a logical standpoint. If you believe in God and you believe that you may upset God, you have to actually think about what that would mean. Like, because God would want you to be happy. Are you happy? God would want you to question things that you feel aren't right. Are you getting in trouble for questioning things? You know what I mean? Like, you have to actually look at the way things would be if God actually wanted you to do those things. So if you're sitting there and you're wondering if you're doing the right thing, just think about how somebody would feel if they weren't able to see their kid because they got this fellowship for years. And then one day they decided, you know what, I don't care. I'm going to go see my kid. Would that be a thing that God would not want? Would you see God being angry at that? Or would you see two people who love each other, hugging each other, crying, and being so happy to be back in each other's lives? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it sounds like what they would be doing is probably viewing God from the JW perspective. So
yeah,
it obviously tells me that what you're actually asking them to do, in a sense, is, not view God the way that they've been taught to view it. Don't look at God through a book. Look at God as an internal experience or subjective reality. Like, if you were a father, how would you treat your children? You know what I'm saying? Would you want your children to be obsessively robotic as you're their dictator, or would you want, So I like that what you're doing is you're actually rephrasing that. Me being a skeptic atheist, right? I love people regardless. I don't go out of my way to say you need to stop believing in a God or this, that. That's not my mission, man. It's not my mission.
Right.
My mission is love, community, trying to figure out a way for us to come together. People can believe things, and that's okay with me. But when you have these kind of beliefs that they have, this is harmful. And, it's sad to hear you say, and I know that you mean all well in it, but it's sad to hear you say when your mom wouldn't potentially talk to you. And I know you say you wouldn't feel a certain type of way, but for me on the outside, looking at that and say, she gave birth to you, bro. she's your flesh and blood, and she's going to take the word of another man at another church or at the Kingdom Hall, telling her how she should live her life with her children, because some book, the way they interpret it, by the way, I mean, they got some crazy interpretations. I've heard Ezekiel's will within a will. Oh, that's the organization. What kind of drugs did the initial interpreter of that's in the JW do? Right. Because you gotta be. Did acid just come out at the time? I mean, like there's some trippy things, you know. But anyway, I just think I'm trying to be funny, but you know, that's my thing. I just wanted you to know that. I say that because a lot of ex-JWs are either atheist or they move to a different type of divine view, regardless. And so you're suggesting that if they're still holding on to something, they can't let go of the existence of God, which can be traumatic for some. Ultimately, they need to try and look at things from more of a, God wouldn't want that for you. Imagine, you know, would you want that for your children? How is he a good father if he's right? You get where I'm coming from?
Absolutely, because that's the way that people like really have to. Because this is the thing. I'm an atheist myself. But at the same time, I can understand why somebody would believe in God. I get it. I get it. But the thing that I cannot understand is how somebody could believe in God and also at the same exact time believe that he'd be okay with certain other things. You know what I mean? Like, for instance, the Jehovah Witnesses have this thing to whereas they're saying that, you know, you should just listen to us without question. Like, would God really give a human being like them, like the literally the power of God? Because the only being you're supposed to listen to without question is God. That's it.
It's kind of funny you say that, because when you read these books yourself, you'll find out oftentimes in the prophets of the Old Testament, the Hebrew Bible, you find these prophets literally arguing with God. They're mad at God. Okay. They're literally arguing with God. And they're not arguing and nothing happens. The narrative, of course, of the prophet, the story goes that God does end up answering them. Yeah. Now, he might not buckle. He might say, hey, I'm just and I'm this, I'm that, but he still ends up answering them. Yeah. For me, being who I am as a skeptic or whatnot, you know, unless I'm going to experience that and know with certainty I'm not on drugs, I'm not tripping, I don't have mental health issues, you know what I'm saying, where I'm going from. But asking yourself, skip the organization for a second. If you're feeling not right, go to the book yourself and you'll find out the organization in that book, dude, they're picking and choosing. So, you know, search yourself, be logical, be critical, try and consider new things. And I guess that's what you're trying to say is like, you kind of have to take a risk there, you know, and if they're already doubting though, then from there, what would you recommend they do? If they're already doubting, get involved in ask a group that's already left why they left. Would that be a good question?
Yes, absolutely. Go to get your Yelp review on the Jehovah Witnesses. You know what I mean? Like, go to the source, because if you're going to talk to anybody, first off, for somebody to say, don't talk to an ex person, like, because you can go out of field service and you can argue with somebody. You can argue with somebody who's a Christian to the cows come home. You know what I mean? Like, you can argue with them. They can point out crazy stuff in your doctrine or whatever forever. You can actually do that. But for some reason, somebody who's an ex-member, somebody who can actually tell you like, yeah, I used to believe what you believe, they're a danger. Think about that rationally, because even if they do trick you, right? How long can a person be tricked? Can it be tricked forever if you find out you were tricked?
Yeah. If you're still searching, how can you stay tricked forever?
Exactly. Like, because this is the thing. Like, if somebody like leaves the organization, right? Oh, I got tricked into leaving the organization. Are we going to tell you to never go back? Are we going to tell you to never look at anything that they put out? We would never tell you to do that. Like, right now, I probably read more Watchtower and Awake now than I did when I was in, because I understand exactly what they're doing now. So I read it now and I look at it. You got to look at the two different. One side is telling you, don't talk to them, don't listen to them, don't read nothing that they put out, don't do it. And the other side is saying, yeah, you can look at whatever you want to. You can read whatever you want to. And at the end of the day, go with what makes the most sense. So at the end, so that's what I'm saying. It's two different things. Now, there's something called a consciousness of guilt, which means that if you know you're wrong, you're going to try to cover up the evidence. Who seems like they're trying to cover up evidence in that scenario? And who's trying to just get to the logical truth in that scenario? So it's not really something that's like rocket science if you really want to get to the truth. And even if you, like I say, I'm an atheist, but there's certain things in the Bible that literally goes 100% against the Jehovah Witnesses. It says, keep searching for the truth as if you're searching for hidden treasure. Mm-hmm. That means that even when you think you got the treasure, you're supposed to keep searching for it.
Right.
That don't mean that, and how do you get treasure? Do you just get all your information from one person? Or do you just search for it? You got to get all the information that you have at your disposal.
Dude, I love that. No, you said that. Yeah.
So it makes no sense. At the end of the day, they're going against the Bible. They're going against God. They're going against everything that they say that they stand for. And even though I'm not a, religious person anymore, I can still hold them accountable for what they do on a religious level. Mm-hmm. And then once people understand that, then we could talk about the other stuff that's just, morally unacceptable. You know what I mean? Like holding people hostage, holding families hostages and stuff like that. That's not, you can't do that. If somebody wants to leave, let them leave. Don't say, well, you're going to have to get rid of your family and stuff. No, that's holding people in hostage. And that's what they do.
It's mental manipulation too. So they can get away with saying, no, I didn't hold them hostage. They wanted to, but you taught them that they must do that to be a good organizational member and to be right with God. So yeah, my final question, and I think this is a good one in the vein of some of the interviews that I've done, and I'd like to get your thoughts. Was there a particular doctrine that maybe like red flagged when you started to search this? Because what usually happens from what I can tell is they start to doubt. You started doubting. It wasn't like one day you were in and the next day you were out. It was like there was a transition where you started like, man, I got questions. This thing's nah, bro, something's wrong. Was there a doctrine? I'll give you an example. I know for JT and Lady C, and JT, he said, bro, let me tell you something. I found out about that apocalypse that was supposed to happen in 1975. He said, I have so much respect, he said, for the 1976 apostates. He said the dudes who left in 1976 are OGs. They are the gangsters because they didn't have the internet. They didn't have all the Google Wikipedia showing how wrong these guys were. And they left and they had nothing and they had to start over. So for him, it was that. I think Lloyd had that same thing. For Fifth, I can't remember exactly what, because I don't remember what me and Fifth talked about, but in terms of his exact reason, but the doubts started coming in. What was there a doctrine that specifically can you remember that maybe started going, man, something's wrong? Or did someone challenge you and say, yo, dude, your organization said this or teaches this, and look right here in the book they say they believe in, look right here. Is there anything you can remember that maybe caught your attention?
Well, like I was saying earlier, the whole Jesus, like the version of Jesus they had in the Bible, he looked like he was an Italian guy. You know what I mean?
Or white,
right?
Like a white guy from Europe. You know what I mean?
And I remember these guys. There's some crazy guys. Do not ever like listen to them because they're crazy. They're called the Hebrew Israelites. I know. These guys are nuts, right? Yeah. But they correctly pointed out that the Bible said he had skin of brawn and hair of wool, and that all these things happen in the continent of Africa. Why aren't there any black people in my book of Bible stories? Why aren't there any black people in any of the literature? Every single character from the Bible that the Jehovah Witness put out was either a black or a white woman. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I mean, I'm sorry. Everybody was white. Mostly
white, yeah.
They were all white, not even mostly white.
Well, now they put black and white in the future magazines. They're trying to present this utopian future where we all get along. So I don't know when they changed that, but
no, I'm talking about the actual Bible characters. Every single Bible character, because we had a book called the My Book of Bible Stories, and it was just about David and Goliath, Noah, the Ark, like Moses, all the Bible characters in there. Every single one was white. Every single one. The pictures. There was no black characters in this entire book. And in any book from then, like I've never seen in any book, you know how many books the Jehovah's Witnesses put out. I have personally never seen a black character in any books, even printed to this day. I haven't seen any black Bible characters at all. So even back then, I was asking, where are they and why are they? And when I asked that question, instead of getting an answer or them trying to dig to the bottom of it, they just said, stop reading apostate material. And I started actually from that point looking at things that were considered apostate material. Because
isn't that weird?
Yeah.
Psychological.
Questioned it. Yeah.
Why is it when they tell you not to do it, it's like you felt in your gut, you knew in your gut, man, why are they so afraid of me even looking at this stuff?
Yeah, like I thought this was a legit question. This is a funny thing. You know how I would tell you, like, I wasn't big Jehovah Witness. I wasn't like into it. I wasn't going out to feel. This was literally my first question where I'm like, I bet you I know who can give me the answer to this. The elders. This is the first time I actually came to the elders with a good biblical question. It wasn't nothing like facetious. It wasn't me trying to like one up them or prove a point. Nothing. I actually had a question. I found a good question to ask them, and they couldn't answer it. Could not answer it. And it actually drove me to look at apostate material.
I can respect that a lot because I grew up, reading the Bible, going to churches and stuff where every character is practically white. Once in a while, they got a little tan, But, when you're someone who believes in this and you come from, and your own skin color is dark, okay? Yeah. You kind of want to see like how you connect to it.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if everyone had blonde hair, blue eyes in the Bible pictures that you're reading your whole life? Just saying. And you don't have blonde hair. You don't have blue eyes. You don't have white, pale skin, but all the characters do. You kind of wonder, you got to scratch your head. Now, I'm not saying they're all blonde hair, blue eye. They probably had some brunettes, but you know what I'm saying? Like, how the hell does that help? Yeah. I just really think that's funny.
It is, because in every book, from front to back, all the angels were white. Jesus was white. Like the 4 horsemen were white. One of them was just like bones, like dead bones. But I'm like, I'm probably white people bones, like it was just no black people at all. Like almost to the point where it's like, did they make a conscious decision not to put black people in this book?
Interesting.
And I, even back then, I kind of felt like that hurts me psychologically. I don't want to, because for my entire life, even if I ask like people right now, when you get an image of Jesus in your head, do you see a black person or do you see a white person? And all the black people I know, they say they see a white person. That's Jehovah Witnesses. They see a black person. I mean, that's Jehovah Witnesses. They see a white person. But people who I know that are not Jehovah Witnesses, other black people, they feel like Jesus was black. So it's crazy. And I guess in the grand scheme of things, people are just like, well, it's not about whether or not he's black or white. I guess, but why?
Yeah,
if it don't matter, then why is he always white? If it don't matter, That's
a good point. No, good point. And I go to a local flea market once in a while, and there's a lady from Africa who sells, all sorts of stuff, all pictures and stuff. And there's Jesus in the Last Supper, and Jesus and the disciples are Afro. They got clothes like. They go all out, cornrows, bro. They got do-rags. No, I'm just kidding with you. But no, because I live in Fayetteville, North Carolina, bro. I grew up, my population here is 50-50. It's mostly white and black. But I grew up my whole life with this, and I'm very glad. I'm thankful that I did. And I didn't get sheltered in a world where everything was all proper or this and protecting me from this. No, I got to see the real world. And so my heart and my being pours out for the struggle that we've been going through as a nation, even recently with the chaos and oh goodness, I don't want to get caught up in everything else right now. But tell me a joke. Tell me a joke before we go, Jay. I got to hear something. Can you think of something? I'm putting you on the spot, aren't I?
You are putting me on the spot.
Do you have a JW joke? I mean, we're on JW topic. Is there anything you can think of?
Can I cuss on here?
Yeah, absolutely. If you feel like it.
I just thought it was funny how like, when you was a JW, all the older women, because it was so many like older women, and it was so few like men or whatever that was available. Like the old women always try to fuck you, and it'd be like, ugh, come on, lady. Don't nobody want to see them World War II titties. Don't nobody want them Great Depression titties. You know what I mean?
Oh my gosh.
Them titties probably helped free the slaves, you know?
Oh my. You're wild.
I can't do that, man. Like, it's a good chance Martin Luther King sucked them titties. I can't suck the same titty Martin Luther King sucked.
You just lost any JW who was sitting on the fence, bro.
That was on the fence, right?
This is why I'm not going to be apostate. You prove us. They probably think you have a spirit or a demon or a devil. I don't know.
I tell dirty jokes. That's how it goes.
Bro, if they don't think this once in a while, they're tricking themselves. So
they are.
I appreciate you, man. Seriously.
Hey, I appreciate the invite, man. Sorry about the first one. I completely messed that one up, but I appreciate the invite. Last Tuesday, yeah.
Nah, don't worry about it, man. It's all good. Don't worry about it. I really appreciate you tuning in and joining me. And everybody can go down in the description. Make sure you guys check out his stuff. Go show him some love and support. You know, Jay, you're being authentic. You're being yourself, man. And I commend you for that. And I'm thankful that, you know, you're out here, you're a voice, and you're saying life does have its good moments outside. In fact, it's better than what it was when you were in it, because you were trying to fake being something you knew you weren't true to yourself. And so now you are.
The rewards outside is much better than the rewards inside, because the rewards outside you actually get rewarded for, you know. And this is the thing when it comes to life. If you work hard and you struggle, and when you struggled inside of the organization, you got nothing. But now struggle is where success lives. You know, if success was easy to get to, everybody would have it. And since the rewards are so good, you got to struggle to get the better rewards. So the rewards that come when you struggle outside the organization are so much better than the rewards that come when you struggle inside. So just remember that.
Ladies and gentlemen, and don't forget, we are MythVision.